Time for NFL Zig or Zag.
8 days away from the draft.
Dirt, let's go to Cleveland.
Cleveland!
Where the Brownies are looking to get Deshaun Watson healthy. Remember, end of the year hurt.
I do. Joe Flacco led them to the playoffs.
And Kevin Stefanski said this at a press conference yesterday about the health of Deshaun Watson.
We'll make sure that we are smart about Deshaun's rehab and focus on getting him ready for the season. And when he's ready to contribute in practice, he'll be out there based on what the medical staff tells us. Now, having said that, we're putting the system together. We're full speed ahead and in these meeting rooms, and when we get out on that practice field, we'll constantly trying to get better as an offense, but we're not going to speed Deshaun up just to get the offense sped up.
It's certainly been an ugly experience in Deshaun Watson, from the off-field stuff to the guaranteed contract that broke records and pissed every team off.
Yes.
And he's been absolute garbage since they got him. Are we zigging or are we zagging on Deshaun Watson as Cleveland's full-time starter next season?
I'm going to zag on this. It's going to take an insane amount of money and some massive balls. There will come a time within the next 14 months that they try and just get rid of that contract.
Oh, if he's terrible next year, they're going to eat money.
I don't think people realize either. So he signs this massive guaranteed deal. He's been in Cleveland for 2 seasons now. He had the suspension in year 1. Last year he was hurt. He's played a total of 12 games. You know what his cap hit was last year?
I don't.
$19 million. So a lot of it was front-loaded, signing bonus, like that. But most of that money kicks in now. His cap hit for Cleveland goes from $19 million last year to $63 million this year.
Wow.
And it's going to be $63 million next year, and it's going to be $63 million the year after that. Now is time to pay the piper. He sucks. He's done. I don't need any more evidence. He's played 12 games. He's been horrible. His completion percentage is below 60% as a Brown. He's like... It's awful. Joe Flacco revitalized their offense last year. Imagine a year ago hearing that sentence, how you would have reacted to it. The Cleveland Browns are going to make the playoffs because Joe Flacco is going to revitalize their offense and get them there. Deshaun Watson is cooked. I don't know if it's the guaranteed money. He doesn't want to get hurt. He doesn't care anymore. If he's, I don't know what the hell happened. He's only 28 years old. 3 years ago, he was elite.
Come on.
I know.
What happened? He got injured, so he was out for an entire year.
1 year, it shouldn't derail your ability to play football.
He not only got hurt and missed an entire year, he then sat out, had the off-field stuff.
He was suspended for a season.
So we can't act like that doesn't impact you mentally.
I'm not saying...
He's a pariah.
Sure. How he went from being an MVP candidate to being a non-starting quarterback in the NFL.
Don't take 2 years off. Breaking news. Don't take 2 years off.
They're going to buy him out of that deal because it's a disaster, and it has been a disaster, and it will continue to be a disaster.
Let's go up north. Seahawks GM John Schneider told ESPN 710 that he has met with Spencer Rattler and Bo Nix.
Ooh.
He called both special, and Brady Henderson, our good friend, writes on ESPN.com that they could definitely be eyeing one of them on day 2. If it's Nix, your beloved Oregon Duck, Dirt Zig or Zag, that Seattle and Ryan Grubb is a better landing spot for Bo Nix than Denver, which has been the Vegas favorite for him for weeks.
God, that's a good one. That's one of the better Zig or Zags that you've had.
Thank you. I'm staying up late to do Zig or Zag, sacrificing sleep in my health.
Zig or Zag Seattle is the better fit? Is that what the question was? Yeah.
It is. Yeah.
I'm going to zig on that.
Okay.
So to use the analogy that you just pointed out, the time off thing, I don't know what Sean Payton has left in the tank. He won his Super Bowl 14 years ago. A lot of early playoff exits with Drew Brees as his quarterback. He got there to Denver last year, and it was he's going to help Russell Wilson, and this is going to revitalize. They were terrible. They were awful last year. Mm-hmm. I feel like Seattle is closer to competing, and if he goes there, there will be zero requirement to play right away.
Here's my only interruption and caveat to you.
Yes, what do you got?
Ryan Grubb's never been in the NFL.
No.
And Mike McDonald's never been a head coach.
No.
Sean Payton, at least his resume is lengthy. That's the only counter I have to what you're saying.
There's a part of me, though, that has trust in John Schneider because of his track record. I know they haven't won a Super Bowl in a long time, but he's been consistently good. And I just think predominantly it's expectations-based, right?
Okay.
Like if he goes to Seattle, He's not playing next year unless Geno gets hurt and they have Sam Howell. So if that's your pick, like that's a year-long process. Let's bring him along. Let's help him out. He'll get there eventually. Zero pressure. You're going in, just let's learn. If you go to Denver, he might not start in game one.
Stidham would start over him.
I would agree, but at some point, Jared Stidham's experiment, like that experiment's going to run out.
Yes.
And they're going to suck, and they're going to call for Bo Nix, and you're going to get thrown to the Wolves and go succeed, or we're going to judge you right away. I zig on that. I think Seattle's the better fit.
Let's go to Jacksonville. Trevor Lawrence and the Jags still haven't reached an agreement on an extension, but Lawrence says, quote, there's definitely been some conversations as far as where that's at now. He told reporters Tuesday that it's not really my focus. I'd love to obviously be a Jag for as long as possible. We love it here, and I love where we're headed as an organization and feel like I'm just getting better. My best ball is definitely ahead of me. Dirt, zig or zag, the Jags should make Lawrence prove it for the extension.
Zig. I zig on this. I'm a Jags guy. I'm a Lawrence guy. He was disappointing last year. They were disappointing last year. And there's no need to rush into these contracts. I get that the number's only going to go up the longer that you wait. But it's also, man, it's not good for your long-term health as an organization to give out a contract to a guy who then 2 years later you want to get out of it. I know Philly has had some success since moving on from Wentz, but that wasn't an easy one to deal with. The Rams had to move on from Jared Goff, which, yes, it worked for them. Goff has found success, but the end in L.A. wasn't pretty. You don't need to rush into like, Daniel Jones got a big contract last year. They felt like, oh, we got to pay. We got to do something here. How do you feel about that now? Everybody's out on Daniel Jones. So I'm not saying Lawrence is Jones. He's got this year, and then he's got the fifth-year option left. You got time to figure this out. There's no need after 21 touchdowns and 14 picks to give him a $200 million contract.
And finally, we wrap Zig or Zag up with my beloved 49ers. Brock Purdy was on the Pat McAfee show yesterday.
Yeah.
Why are you laughing?
Because I saw an endorsement he's doing.
Oh,
he's got an endorsement, I guess, with John Deere. I think I saw a clip of that.
He's wearing a hoodie.
He's got a John Deere hoodie on.
Which, I'm
Good
not
for
mad
him,
at
man.
that. I have no John Deere equipment, but I'd rock a John Deere hoodie.
He flies back to Iowa in the off season to mow and do his farming. Like, yeah, he's a man of the people.
He's an Arizona guy.
His wife's from Iowa, and he went to college in Iowa.
I know, but
they own a farm in Iowa.
Oh, do they own a farm?
They do.
And he said this about his ability to pick up the really difficult Kyle Shanahan offense and how he's able to do it.
Day one, they invested their time to teaching me, so that's first. But other than that, man, it's just been a grind of studying. It's like another language with this offense, and you can never be too familiar with it. Like, it's always going to be where you have to continue to learn it and grow with it. But I don't know, Shanahan's just been able to break it down to me, and for me, I've learned so much just in football in general, just how he thinks and processes things, and so we've clicked in that regard. And then obviously I just go out there, I try to keep it simple for how complicated the offense is, and distribute it to the guys that are all around me. I got dudes around me, so put all those things together and you have some success.
Dirt, zig or zag, Brock Purdy is a top 2 quarterback in the NFC next year.
Oh, God. In the entire NFC?
Yes. Because a little bit of this is projection. So,
I mean, I'll zag on that, but I don't think he's that far
then
off.
name the names.
I don't think he's that far off.
Name the names.
I think Matthew Stafford, when healthy, still deserves that
I'm not mad at
credit.
Yeah.
And then it's like a crapshoot. Like, do you go Jordan Love? Do you go Jared Goff?
We're going Jordan Love already.
Do you go Kirk Cousins? Do you go Jalen Hurts? Does he have a bounce back year?
Okay.
Probably not.
Swag, you look like you want to chime in here. Are you zigging or zagging?
Well, this is a difficult thing because how do you evaluate
Thank you.
the rankings? Is it stats? I don't know that his stats. Dak is either playing for a contract or I don't know what, so they could put up absurd stats. Philly could put up absurd stats again.
I'm asking you
Detroit.
guys, top 2 quarterbacks
But in
the
terms
NFC.
of if you had
You know what? Screw it. I'm going to zig on that. I zig on it. I go Stafford 1. I go Purdy 2.
But if you're going to
Kirk
say,
Cousins
who
3.
do I want under center in the playoffs to lead us to a Super Bowl?
Yeah.
Might be number 2.
The funniest thing
Is
about
this an
him,
indictment on the NFC or a compliment to Purdy? 'Cause
I think it's an
both.
indictment on the NFC.
I kind of lean that way. I like Purdy. I've been wrong on Purdy, but I don't know if I can go there. But also, I was like, I could see Hurts struggling. Dak has numbers, but never wins the playoff game. I'm not a big Cousins guy. There's debate. Goff, you guys didn't even mention Goff.
I
in
mentioned
Detroit.
Goff. I threw Goff out there. I said a rotating panel of potential number twos.
Baker in Tampa?
The funny thing about him is that I feel like with the 7th round, because he's a 7th round pick, we act as it, not we, but the general fan populace.
Yeah.
They do this thing where it's like, well, what are the 49ers going to do when they have to pay him and they lose this piece or that piece, as if he can't get better. As if from year 1 to year 2, his numbers did not improve.
I agree.
Literally across the board.
Yeah.
His completion percentage was up. His touchdown to interception ratio was just as good. His yards per attempt was way up. QB rating was up. QBR was up. Like, everything was up from year 1 to year 2. So if he was 31 touchdowns, 11 picks, 4,200 yards last year. If he takes another slight jump, you're talking about 35 touchdowns, 10 picks, 4,500 yards, and 70% completion percentage. There's not another quarterback in the NFC. Now, you could say it's only because of the system or who he's playing with.
That doesn't matter. He's
it
there.
Doesn't matter.
He's part of the system.
If he puts up those numbers, you're not finding a second. Name 2 quarterbacks who would put up better numbers than that in the NFC.
I thought that was a pretty good zigzag.
That was a really good zigzag.
Got to be honest. Tough. I need to keep thinking of questions that make you go, whoa, hold on.
The Bo one was interesting because then I also have the conflicting thing of, do I want him in a Seahawks uniform? Like, do I want that whole thing to happen? Although him going to Seattle and leading them to prominence would be hilarious.
All right, let's get to some college football goofiness, some pretty funny stories that happened yesterday in college football. That's next on The Fan.